Welcome back. Senior Hamas leaders have travelled to Cairo today for diplomatic talks, but there's still no sign of a ceasefire. It comes as Palestinian health officials say almost 200 people in the Strip have been killed in the last 24 hours. Meanwhile, the UN have claimed that the Israeli military fired at an aid convoy in northern Gaza. Well, I'm joined now by Mark Regev, Senior Advisor to the Israeli Prime Minister. Very good evening to you. Thanks for your time. Perhaps we can start with that alleged firing at a UN convoy by the Israeli military. What went wrong?
Jonathan, you say correctly alleged. It's not clear to us what happened yet. I can tell you that Israel does not target aid convoys. On the contrary, we're doing everything we can to facilitate the entrance into Gaza of convoys containing food, medicine, water, other supplies that people need. The people of Gaza are not the target of our operation. We want to hit Hamas, but not the people of Gaza, and we definitely don't obstruct aid going in.
Earlier, we spoke to Tom White, who's the Director of UNRWA Affairs in Gaza, the Agency for Palestinian Refugees, of course. Let's just have a listen to what he had to say.
We work very closely with the Israeli army to deconflict a lot of our movements in Gaza, particularly in areas where there's active IDF or Israeli army presence. But unfortunately, there have been a few too many mistakes recently. And obviously some of them are taking civilian lives, similar to the airstrike in Benghazi that you spoke about earlier. In this case, it was one of our convoys. It was very lucky our guys were in an armoured Land Cruiser.
So he's pretty clear that one of his convoys was hit by IDF fire. He says too many mistakes are being made. He's asking his team to deliver aid under fire. I mean, that's unacceptable, isn't it?
Look, let's be clear. UNRWA, the organisation that he's now heading in Gaza, is, of course, and it's been documented. You can check everything I'm about to say, but it is unfortunately infiltrated up to the very senior positions by Hamas. Hamas controls the workers' union there, and all the information he's receiving is information that Hamas wants him to hear. And we have clear indications that Hamas is desperate for the international community to force a ceasefire because they see Israel's military operation is moving ahead. We're taking apart Hamas's military machine, we're eliminating its senior commanders, and they're desperate for a ceasefire. And they want to give the feeling there's a humanitarian crisis, so there's more pressure on Israel to cease fire to save themselves. We can't let them succeed in doing that.
Will there be an investigation then into this incident?
There's always an investigation. And as you know, when we've made a mistake, we admitted it. And we do. At the Benghazi camp that you mentioned earlier, the man from UNRWA mentioned, we've publicly admitted that we made a mistake in the ordinance, and the IDF said we'll learn from those lessons.
Okay, so an investigation into this, an investigation into this incident, an investigation into Benghazi, an investigation into the three hostages.
No, but you're not listening, sir. Sir, you're not listening. I said Benghazi, we already investigated it, and we said we made a mistake. When we make a mistake, we're very transparent. We don't hide it.
No, I agree. I appreciate that. What I'm saying is that there are or have been investigations into those incidents. Why then won't there be an investigation, or why then aren't you publishing details of what went wrong on October the 7th?
That will definitely happen, but the big investigation is...
Why isn't it happening now? People want to know.
Because obviously we're focusing now on the war, but you're right, Israelis want to know more than anyone else what went wrong on October 7th. We're the ones who paid the price in blood. Over 1,200 people killed by Hamas, and every day there are new reports of the atrocities that Hamas committed, so of course we want to get to the bottom of it.
Is the truth that that's not being published now, the details aren't being given now, because it will reflect badly on the Prime Minister?
On the contrary, it's clear we've got to have an investigation that is not a tactical investigation like the ones we've just discussed, which is why were people firing in a particular place. But this has to an investigation that will involve the highest levels of the military and the civilian leadership. And it has to be done seriously.
He's under huge pressure, though, isn't he, the Prime Minister? Why did he cancel that war cabinet?
So obviously I can't go publicly into the details of discussions that may or may not happen in war cabinet meetings, but I can say this. In the past, to answer your question specifically, when we've had these sort of blunders in the past where people have been killed, where there have been intelligence failures, We have done very serious inquiries, most famously after the Yom Kippur War in 1973, when we were attacked and surprised, both in the north, attacked by Syria, and the south, attacked by Egypt. We had what you would call in Britain a royal commission headed by a chief justice from our Supreme Court. It was taken very seriously.
Is the reason that he cancelled that war cabinet because there's no consensus on what happens to Gaza once this war is over?
So first of all, the meeting was not cancelled. Your information is incorrect. But I want to say very clearly, sir, that there is a serious discussion going on what is happening on the day after this conflict. We, of course, have to be one step ahead and say, once Hamas is defeated, what do we want in Gaza? And there are a number of things that need to be said. Gaza will be demilitarized when this is over. Gaza will be de-radicalized when this is over. Hamas will no longer rule the Gaza Strip. That's good for Israelis, who don't have to live in fear of Hamas crossing the border and murdering their children. But it's also good for Gazans, who deserve better than that bunch of cutthroat extremist terrorists who have been running their show and have only brought them poverty and bloodshed and misery. The people of Gaza deserve better too.
OK, the people of Gaza also are calling for an end to the violence, an end to innocent civilians being killed. Egypt says it's tabled a proposal which could see an end to the war. Are you open to negotiation?
Well, of course, we've got good contacts with the Egyptians and with the Americans, and we're talking to the Qataris as well. Anything that can create a situation where we can get our hostages out, and for that we're willing, like we did in November, to have a pause in the operation. We're open to that. But we can't and we won't change our goal, which is to dismantle Hamas's military machine. And let me explain why. Because as long as Hamas is in power in Gaza, you'll just have another war, whether it's in 3 months or in 6 months or in a year. Hamas says so openly that they believe in, to quote them directly, permanent war with Israel. They would do the October 7th massacre that you spoke about a moment ago, Jonathan. They say they would do that again and again and again. Hamas doesn't want peace or coexistence. They don't want either.
They've also said that a temporary ceasefire isn't enough in order to release hostages. Do you accept that you may never get those hostages home?
No, we will never give up on our people. We'll do everything we can to bring them home. Of course, Hamas wants a lifeline. They want to say, they want, like some people at the UN were saying, they want a ceasefire that leaves them in power. But it must be understood that's a band-aid solution. It might be attractive but it must be understood that might be attractive superficially. But that is only a recipe for more violence down the road. Hamas does not want to live in peace with Israel, with its neighbors. We saw that on October 7th so vividly.
If you were prepared, though, to pause once to release hostages, and we know those families are desperate to get their loved ones home, why can't you do it again?
We can indeed. And I said before, we're willing for another pause to get hostages out. If there is an opportunity to have hostages released, to bring them home, we will embrace that opportunity.
OK, we will leave it there. Mark Regev, Senior Advisor to Prime Minister Netanyahu, thank you.
Thanks for having me, sir.